Before installing the EIINavigator, it's important to note that you must also select Zest from the list of available products on the update site. This, together with the data sources, is required in order that EII runs properly after installation. The software has been installed and the system restarted. We've prepared the projects and have already imported a database which contains the RTMS database containing all the relevant fact sheets. Here we can see all attributes. Note that for every table in this database we have one concept. Having installed the data sources program, we can inspect the properties of the database over here in the Entity Properties pane. We can also change the password, the username and the address. We've changed the location of the database as well as having prepared a small integration example, new concepts named Area and Water Area. Now, what we can do is import the XML fact sheets relating to the aqua species. In the Import window, click Ontology from File System and then Next. We now select XML Import, which has already been installed, and we can now select the main XML schema for the aqua species fact sheet. Leaving the additional import settings tabs unchecked. In the root element selector, we select the Figure Stock drop-down option as the root element, in addition to the document containing the instances. Now we have 4 data source ontologies, 3 of which are from the XML mappings, with the other being from the database. Now we're ready to visualize in EII. You can see that we have 2 ontologies that are directly linked with XML mapping and to the database. We also have our integration ontologies and internal ontologies, which aren't directly linked to XML mappings but are data all the same, simply because they're general knowledge. What we can now do is create mappings between these ontologies in such a way that we can get all our data inside our integration ontology. In order to create mappings, we need to select Add as Mapping Target to the integration ontology, with the rest being mapping sources. As we've already prepared a few with the attribute Simulations, that means that we already have a few mappings. For example, here we've mapped area to area into the integration ontology. We can see the resulting mappings here. We've also mapped water area to water area. And another mapping we've created is between water condition, to extract the condition of the water, and water area. Then we need to add flags to water area. As you can see, the owner flag is missing. We'll assume that the value is the UN code for the area. If prompted, click to confirm that you want to perform a concept mapping too. Let's also map the code for the flag. Having done so, we'll have completed all of our required mappings. All we then have to do is to visualize them in the EIINavigator. As you can now see, we have a few mappings in the integration ontology. We'll again select Visualize in EIINavigator in order to confirm that we have mappings between our integration ontology and our data source ontologies. In this case, the elements ontologies are left out. What we can do here is double-click on any ontology, and, having done so, you'll be able to see that the history is now expanded such that we can see all of its elements. We can do the same with any artifact in the EIINavigator. For example, in the Entity Properties view, we can see the schema file. As far as the database is concerned, we can change the host, port, and access credentials. This is provided for later use by the Database Sources plugin. As you can see, our query area is empty. So we can, if we choose, add a few more queries. We select the integration ontology and then create a new query. We then select a few properties in the query restriction window, and, after doing so, we can also create a query that will be later published as a web service. We now save the ontology, and, as you can see, these are automatically created in the EIINavigator. We could also create test queries for other ontologies, for example, the data sources ontologies, in order to ensure that access to the database is correct. And again in the EIINavigator. These queries are created automatically. What we can also do is provide a means of having quick access to a range of different tools. In cases such as this, where we have a lot of queries, testing queries, web series queries and so on, we could elect to show only the related queries for a given ontology on which we're working at that time. Alternatively, we could tog all of the relevant queries for that specific ontology. We could also display all ontologies, or we could refresh the view in case we've updated something or imported other ontologies, data or whatever. The next time this tool is opened, all of the nodes will be in the same place, but we can of course rearrange them in any way we choose. We also have query access to other tools, like Visualize Ontology. This can, of course, be extended as and when we install additional tools. And that summarises the SemanticEIINavigator plugin tool.